Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm doing a rapid-fire review of Aquaria from Capstone Games. Rapid-fire reviews are a format on this channel where I attempt to give you a brief overview of how a game works, as well as my thoughts and opinions, all in 10 minutes or less. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Before I dive into the game, this channel is sponsored by Allplay, more about them at the end of the video. With that said, Aquaria is a game that's going to play out across 4 rounds. In each round you're going to have 4 actions, although your actions are going to grow as you power them up with pearls, ever so precious pearls in the game. You're basically using this die over here, you are not rolling it, this is not a rollable die. You're going to be using this die to move around to various spots on the board, and then taking the actions in those locations, as well as the central location, which is a kind of a bit of a catch-all action. Those actions are going to be powered up with pearls if you have them. You can take a basic action in any location, or you can pay pearls to take the more advanced version of those actions, letting you do more things. At first, pearls are going to be a very precious resource that you don't have enough of, and then as the game proceeds, they'll still be a very precious resource, but you'll have a few more of them. Those actions are primarily going to go around trying to get cards into your grid, into your aquarium, I guess, to an extent. You're going to have these cards over here, these School of Fish cards, as well as these higher scoring lionfish cards for endgame points, but you're basically going to be trying to build up oxygen to pay the costs on those cards in order to be able to place them into your grid, which is going to have a variety of effects, including rotating these dials, which is going to line up with the rounds of play to hopefully give you bonuses. I know it's a lot to go over. I'll just walk through a basic concept over here. Let's say, for example, we spend our first action moving over here to get more oxygen. We're going to mark our counter down because we're taking an action over here, we're getting oxygen, we will not spend a pearl to get more oxygen. We'll move our oxygen counter up on this track, that gives us more oxygen, which allows us to pay for fish. This action over here is going to allow us to place fish into our aquarium down here, so if we move down over here, we'll be able to place a fish into our aquarium from our hand, paying the oxygen costs, getting the benefits, as well as having the opportunity to feed them in the end of round feeding phase if we have the food to feed them, and get points. Again, it's a lot of things happening. When you place a card into your grid, for example, this card over here says that in its row or column, we can rotate these dials, which is going to be helpful because we're trying to line up these dials to the current round color. You have these 8 dials over here, and lining them up to the current round's color is going to give you different benefits. So getting fish down are good because they're worth points. It's good because it gives you the opportunity to feed them, which is worth points. It helps you give you ongoing bonuses, and at the end of the game, fish are going to score in a variety of ways depending on the fish. So we have our oxygen action, we have our playing fish action. Over here, this allows us to discard cards to move up this track over here, getting a variety of bonuses. Over here, we're going to be able to move along this board, exploring this board to get a variety of bonuses there. And then over here, we're going to be able to draw more cards as well as getting food. And then again, this center action is a bit of a catch-all. When you move adjacent to an action, for example, if I had gone here and then here instead of across the board, you're going to get bonuses as well as tick the dial up. So moving in a sequenced action in order to plan your route can give you additional bonuses. This board is set up randomly, so it's a different structure every single time. That's the main hook of the game. You have 4 actions across 4 rounds, so 16 actions total. You'll be powering up your actions with pearls, which you're going to get through a variety of ways. Some of those are going to be bonuses as you take adjacent actions. You can get pearls on the board. You get pearls from a bunch of different locations. You'll be building up your aquarium over here, slowly adding these tiles, as well as adding bonus tiles to your board, and when this fills up, you'll get all the bonuses on your grid. You'll be attempting to get these lionfish cards, which you can get in 3 different ways, from the board over here, from the shop, and then from there, which you can get up to 2 of those, and those give you additional ways to score, in addition to all the endgame scoring. Again, this is a loose overview, not a full rules detail, but with that, let's go ahead and dive into my rapid fire review with the first question: am I keeping it? No, I don't think I'm keeping this one. Why or why not? Aquaria is a tricky one because I don't think there's anything wrong with this game. There's a few small nitpicks I can point at as far as things that I didn't like as much, but for the most part, this feels like a game that everything fits together and nothing shines, which feels a little harsh, but like, nothing about this really stood out as, oh my gosh, I love this, I want to dive into it again, I want to make those chains and bonuses work. It all works. This game works on every surface level. It all works together. There's different, I said works 4 times now. There's different things that synergize to a degree. You have the board over here, you have your aquarium bonuses, you have the cards you're placing into your grid, you have the endgame scoring, which is going to be a variety of different endgame scoring, but also bonuses that are going to be enhanced by these lionfish. You have this chain over here as far as the actions you can take, and as well as planning out your adjacency. You're constantly rotating these dials to help get the bonuses. All of the things come together nicely, but nothing really shines in the game. The dials feel a bit like busy work. It feels like you're constantly trying to make these dials work, and while I appreciate that it works, again, there's that word, it just feels like it's busy work. It feels like you're doing this to make the dials work to get those bonuses. The exploration board doesn't feel super rewarding. I'm not saying you can ignore it. Everything in this game is important, but it doesn't feel super rewarding to move up this board. At no point was I like, oh my gosh, I just got to that tile. I think this is upside down, by the way, minor point. But over here, nothing here felt particularly amazing. It felt like something that I needed to do. At the beginning of the game, and this changes as you play, but at the beginning of the game, it feels like your whole round is set up so you can play a single fish card or two. You're like, I have to get oxygen, but I only get 2, which is not enough for most of these cards. Some cards are free and give you additional bonuses, but it's not enough for most of the cards unless you have pearls. And if you don't have enough pearls early game, it feels like your entire turn is like, I need to buy cards, I need to get cards into my hand, then I take an action to get the oxygen, then I take an action to play the cards. That's 3 out of my 4 actions. What am I doing this game to get out a handful of cards? Now, again, to be fair, we'll cover the fair stuff after, but like, it just feels a lot of work to get very small movements at the beginning of the game. And then lastly, I'll say that when you get to the end of the game, it does feel a little bit like it gets overly mathy, because as much as resources are tight at the beginning, by the time you get to the end of the 4th round, you're able to generate so much food that it becomes a little bit of a game of, as you gain your income to get all this extra food in order to try to max out whether you're going to be able to play that extra fish card, get the food you need, and pay for everything. It can become a little too much counting at the end of the game. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Emberheart if you're looking for another game of collecting a variety of creatures while attempting to deal with a bit of a worker placement puzzle. And also check out Finspan from Stonemaier Games, which is going to have a different kind of fish engine going on. Also tableau building, but structured in a very different format. As far as a counter opinion, why might this game be for you? Overall, like I said at the beginning, everything does come together nicely, which makes me think that this is a lot more about vibes than any one individual complaint. While I did give you some complaints, for the most part, the system, again, I'm going to say it again, for the most part, the system does work. Chaining your actions along this grid and planning your route in order to get the bonuses, if you do that better than the other players, you can feel clever as you do so. Filling your grid at the end of the game, well, I've never actually fully filled my grid, but I think I've gotten like as many as all but 2 cards, so I guess 12 out of the, no, 4x4, 16. I've gotten 14 out of the 16 cards. That can feel incredibly satisfying. Chain that up with the lionfish that rewards you for rows and columns, you can get a lot of points, so endgame can be very rewarding as you play it. And combine the action selection puzzle, lots of little systems, all these small bonuses that as much as they're busy work, they can give you a lot of bonuses at the end of the game. Overall, it does kind of give you a chaining engine in which multiple parts synergize and it all comes together to produce a game that does work. I do wonder whether for me this is more about my individual vibes, because there's so many games that combine different systems in ways that can be satisfying to different degrees. My biggest complaint against Aquaria for me personally is it didn't click in a magical way, but when I look at it, it does all work. So I wonder how much of this is me versus how much of this is me and vibes and just what does and doesn't jive with me versus how much of it is this game just, you know, doing fine but not amazing. So overall, I think if you like these kinds of games, and as well as this is Thomas Suddy, the designer of Tomáš Holek, the designer of SETI and a variety of other these games, it may well be one that's worth trying out for yourself, or at least trying out if you had a convention, a friend's copy, any of that, to see if this one connects with you a bit more. As far as final thoughts on Aquaria, I overall enjoyed my plays of Aquaria. The biggest issue I have with it is at no point did I feel, oh my gosh, this system is amazing. There are individual moments of satisfying turns as I was able to finally get enough stuff to be able to pull off playing 2 cards, getting a bunch of bonuses, rotating my dials, pulling in a ton of resources. There was one round in one game where I had every single dial in one round, and again, you have to reset it every round, but getting all 8 dials and getting a ton of things, that can feel very satisfying, so it does have those moments. For me, this is a game that it all comes together, it all does a decent job, and none of it particularly shines. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I've enjoyed this. For whatever reason, it hasn't clicked with me the way some other games will. And then I mentioned at the beginning of this video that Allplay is a channel sponsor. If you're interested in another kind of a card-building tableau collecting game, check out the networks from Allplay. If you go to allplay.com, you can find games from themselves as well as a variety of publishers, getting them all at one shipping price. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. Hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.